All right, how you guys doing today? We about to hop into the review of Philippians chapter 4. First things first, though, make sure you like that video. Hit it's a full screen. Scroll a bit, like it, and then full screen it back up. You feel. I'm not gonna lie, I really found this chapter to be kind of hard to comprehend for me, and I'm not saying that in a way that I couldn't digest it because I really could. The sermons weren't confusing. It was just I had to listen to them a second time over, and I think one of them even a third time over just to fully understand it. And even then, I still feel shaky, even though the message isn't really hard to understand or even difficult to deep for real. But at the same time, it may just be something in me, or God doesn't want to reveal it. I don't know. It's just I'm not feeling fully confident in it, but we'll see how this goes. We'll see how this goes, and then we'll feel it out. All right, so he calls these guys my joy and my crown. So he made a really big point on saying that these guys captured the attention and the love of Paul so much that he called, when he thought of them and all that, they made Paul happy. And the crown, because when you finished the race in that day, you didn't get a medal or whatever, you got a leafy crown. So he said, these are my prize. And so when he goes on to talk about the things that we think of, he's saying, okay, the thing you think of make you happy as soon as you think of it? And can they be something that's worthy of being your prize at the end of the day? So these guys are his prize because he brought them to the Lord, and there's something he can glory in. Like, look at you guys doing this good work. The grace of God is being shown through that, and I boast in the works of God that has graced you. You know what I'm saying? That was something he could be proud of, bring him happiness, and also be his prize. And that was something fantastic. So when he's urging us to think of these things that are, honest, pure, and whatever the list is that we'll get into in a second, he's saying these are the things that should bring you happiness and be seen as a prize in your life. And if these aren't the things that you're thinking of, then what are you thinking of? And I don't want to say, and he made a point to mention, like, if it's love, if you're thinking of the things you love, can love things really be bad? And I think about that, my instant thought was yes. And I don't know if that's a testament to my faith, but at the same time, he was like, because you think of stuff you love and you're thinking, it can't be bad for me. And my first thought was, I love sugar. That's bad for me. I don't love exercise. That's good for me. I do it anyway. You know what I'm saying? I try to eat healthy-ish, and I do some exercise, because I know that's good for me. I don't necessarily love it. There's some days I love it, but most of the time it's ugh. Same thing with everything else. Like loving the senses. You just know it's bad for you to not trust in God, or at least I do. And so I thought my instant thought was no, it's not good to, constantly think about things that you love, even though they're bad for you, because they're bad for you. Now you may not know that, I suppose, but you know that deep down. We all know deep down that we shouldn't be eating anything we want. We shouldn't be eating only sugar, processed foods, and all that. We should be eating semi-healthy, doing some exercise daily. But it's hard to do those things, and that's why Paul is urging us to think about the things that are what he's going to talk about. And this is the funny part. I didn't even catch this the first time, but he said he's name dropping people. I beseech these people that they might be in the same mind. Apparently they were beefing. So when he says be in the same mind, he's saying that they are like-minded because they were straight apart from each other. And he said this can happen when two people get power and they have to like work together or something. And that's what he was talking about with him and his wife. But, once again, not my lane, not my lane. And he's telling the church, because he said that this is probably read in front of the church to help these people that labor with him in the gospel and everybody else whose names are in the book of life. And rejoice, always rejoice, right? And the first time I read this, I thought moderation was like, but like moderation type modesty type thing, like you're chilling out. But apparently it means gentleness. So he's like, let your gentleness be known to all men that the Lord is at hand. So let the Lord be working in you to grant you the peace. And we've talked about this peace beforehand back in Ephesians. And be careful for nothing. Don't worry about anything. And he's saying in everything. And this was a promise, in everything by prayer and supplication. So you pray and you ask God earnestly. Plus, having thanksgiving, your request will be made known to God, or let your request be made known to God. So you make your request made known to God in prayer and supplication, plus the thanksgiving will equal the peace of God, which passeth all understanding. Something we can't comprehend. You know what I'm saying? You may be chilling. He gave an example, you're just chilling somewhere, something bad happens, accident happens, whatever the case is, and you're sitting there like, I'm good. Shout out my boy God, I'm peaceful. So he's saying it's going to break all of our levels of understanding, and he's going to keep our hearts and minds. He's going to keep our hearts and minds, which means he's going to take them into his hands, and that's his control over them for that moment through Jesus Christ. If we bring everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving to God. He's telling us what our thoughts should be now. Anything that's true. And he was saying the devil is, we've talked about this before, the father of the lies. Everything he does is lie, right? So whatever is true, Jesus Christ said, I am the truth. So our thoughts should be of things that are truth. Anything that relates to Jesus Christ, whatever is honest, whatever is pure, whatever is just, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good rapport, and there be any virtue. Now we can even get a little deeper into these if we want to. So for the honest, anything venerated for character, of persons of deeds that are honorable, anything that's honorable, what I'm saying? Anything that could, like, pretty much goes along with what's true in terms of just, anything upright, virtuous, and keeping the commands of God for the just, pure. Pure from carnality, chastity, modestness, pure from every fault, immaculate, clean, just like Jesus was. Lovely things, acceptable and pleasing. And he was even talking about some national park, I believe, from the last chapter when it mentioned something along these same lines, because he was saying, we take in these different views and these beauteous things that God has put on here for beauty. And he even said that back in Genesis, I believe, that some things were made for food, some trees were made for food, and some were just made for what's it called, just gazing upon, just looking at, to show the glory of God. And he says, yes, this is the first wave. We on level 1 in heaven and all that. In the post life, it's going to be on level 2. Everything's going to get tons more beautiful. So admire the handiworks of God that he made known. We could take everything in, think of these lovely things, because the more you think about him, you're going to think, dang, God is so good. Look at that dang tree over there, man. That thing is beautiful. But the thing is, what is beauty? What is beautiful? Are these societally made constructs? No, because anybody can look at something and say that is intrinsically beautiful. Humans were all made in the likeness of God, so we aren't to say anything is ugly, right? But when it comes to other things, you can say a beetle's ugly. We could say one twisted up tree is ugly, but one smooth tree with some beautiful branches, some bright, vibrant colors is beautiful. And that even goes to show the inner workings of the verbiage that's used throughout the Bible, because we're told that these trees should have fruits on them and so on and so forth. And so when we see the trees that are vibrant colors, which means they're healthy, when we see the ones with the fruits that are looking ripe, that are bright pink, whatever fruit's pink, just a grapefruit, a dragon fruit, I don't know, but whatever, that tree is bright red. I meant to say red, I don't know why pink came out. Like an apple tree, you know what I'm saying? That's how we know the tree is healthy. Therefore the tree, we can say that's a beautiful tree, man. Look at him, he's glowing, you know what I'm saying? Just like when we radiate our light, we're glowing in the Lord, and we can say we're glowing just like that tree is, because it's also basking in the light of the sun. And of good rapport is actually a phrase here, so we're going to check out what that means. Good rapport is a one-time phrase, sounding well, or words of good omen, speaking auspiciously. I can't say I've never heard of that word. Auspiciously, in a way that suggests positive and successful future. Ooh. So we're supposed to speak sounding well. Now, I guess this isn't, saying speak in a smooth voice that sounds well to the ears. No, it's not that. It's speaking respectful language. We're told not to let our emotions get the best of us. Stay vigilant, sober-minded, so we can stay vigilant to keep out. We're supposed to speak purely and without ill intent, without bringing others down. We're supposed to speak to the edification. So sounding well is supposed to be the words that can build up other people, that can edify other people. These words of good omen. We know an omen necessarily is bad, right? But when you put good in front of it, it's a good omen. It's like a good luck charm, I guess. So when somebody says, oh, I got a bad omen, they got something bad following them, and it's like bad luck. But a good omen, it's the exact opposite. Jesus is with us. So uttering words of Jesus, basically speaking auspiciously, meaning something that will uplift somebody in the future to build them up. You know what I'm saying? Under construction, we building them up so that they may allow more graces of Jesus Christ to go into their lives. And if there's any virtue and any praise, we're told to think on these things. And praise, that's pretty obvious. If there's anything that's going to boost up, edify, talk good about God, you know what I'm saying? Think about that thing. Virtue is also translated praise one time, but virtue, anything of virtue, any virtuous cause of thought, feeling, action, moral goodness, any particular moral excellency, anything that God would deem as good, you know what I'm saying? Basically, we've got to think on that as well. And he was stressing the importance of thinking on these things, because when you really think on these things, you think about how much you think about things and how much you don't think about things. We're constantly thinking, other than when you're sleeping, I guess you're daydreaming, or, you may just zone out from time to time. But other than that, if you're aware, which we're told to be, stay sober, minded, and vigilant, which means we're staying aware. We have to let God take our thoughts captive, because he just told us that he can take our hearts captive. He just said he can keep our hearts and our minds. And by that, he's showing us also, boom, these are the things you got to think about. But to let yourself think these things, you got to put your faith in Jesus that he can take your mind captive and let you only think about these things, to put away the old you, crucify yourself with him. And he said, you guys wanted to help me out again, but you lack the opportunity. Now I speak for respect of what I want. I've learned in whatever state I'm in to be content. And this goes back to that peace. You know what I'm saying? Jesus can give your heart that peace that it needs to say, hey, things ain't going the way I want right now, but I'm content. Whatever state I'm in, I could be drowning right now in the middle of the ocean and I'm calm, knowing that I'm about to go be with Jesus. But he's saying, this is, he put the emphasis on learned. He had to learn this. And he said, how did he learn this? To know that he can do all things through Christ. It wasn't learning as much as it was, saying, hey, I can do this. I can suffer this. I can suffer this if I want to. I just got to train my mind to do it. And while you probably can, and that's the devil deceiving you and allowing you to think it's you, but it's really him, something along those lines, it's really through Christ. And he's saying, that's how I learned it, because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Once I learned that, I learned I could really do anything. We're told we can move mountains, yo. If we can move mountains, I definitely can say, shoot, I'm happy right now, when I know in my right mind I shouldn't be. And you guys did well that you communicated with this affliction. But he also wants them to know that when he left from Macedonia, nobody else gave, but only them. And remember, they gave out of their poorness. So what he was saying was, once you sent unto Thessalonica, you sent to me again. Not only because I desired to give, but I desired what might abound to you. So I was hoping that you guys, I wasn't hoping I got a gift, but I desired so that you guys will get gifts from God. This grace will be given back. And he's saying this, apparently this is a very quoted verse. I've never heard it before, I'm pretty sure. I've typically heard Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, but I guess this is also apparently something he was saying, that God shall supply your needs according to all his riches and glory by Jesus Christ. But he also said that this isn't just, you can say this to anybody at any time, like God will support you in whatever you do. It's like, no, if I drove my car into a tree on purpose, now this crazy example, he gave a credit card debt example, which would make more sense. But no, I'm saying I purposely drove my car into a tree, trying to get insurance money, didn't get insurance money, and boom, now I'm broke and without a car. And if somebody says to me, God is going to supply you according to the riches of his glory, no, because I made a bad decision on my own terms, trying to, I guess scam my insurance company. Sure, it was out of ill intent, right? Just like a credit card example, he said, yeah, somebody ran up their credit card debt and somebody said, God is going to supply you all you need. And that's not true, he said, because this is a promise to the Philippians, not just to the Philippians, but in the context of that, where you don't have anything, the grace is sufficient for you at that moment where you want to give out of your poorness. And so you're giving out of your poorness, but you're like, wait, I'm poor. But you're content at the same time, because he knows that he can take your heart captive, and you can say, all right, I'm content, even though I'm poor, right? So you're giving out of that, you're at peace, and you're not really thinking too much of it because you put your faith in Jesus. And that's when that promise comes into play. That's when it's he shall supply all your needs according to his riches and glory, because you've given when you don't have much to give. And then he's going to let everything supply to you because you were giving, because you exemplified this love that you're supposed to have for your neighbors. He's going to exemplify that same back to you. But he always does that. He's always giving us love. That's a constant thing. That's 24/7. That's agape. So when you exemplify that as well, even when you don't got it like God does, God got it like that all the time. God is always full. So when you're giving and you don't have enough, he said, holla, 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 hi, whoa. My grace working to you like that. Here you go. I'm making sure you good. You gonna eat too, bro. Don't worry. It's more like that. It's more, okay, you were doing some things. You've been acting right. Not acting right is in terms of you're working for your salvation. It's not that at all. We're saved by grace through faith. But it's more so of, boom, you're letting that light shine in you. You letting God do his work through you. Even though you don't really got much work to do, you're letting him do what he want to do in you. And then, boom, he's taking care of you as well, because you're letting him lead your life. So he says, all right, I got to make sure you good, because you want to be this vessel for me. Just like to the pot example again, it's like, all right, we were broken pot, he made us back up, now he's using us as these earthen vessels, aka a pot. You fill a pot up, you're using it, boom, he's using us. The oil lamp, he's carrying us around, boom, you the good oil lamp. He's got to keep polishing that oil lamp. He's got to keep filling it up with the oil. He's got to make sure that oil lamp keeps working, because guess what, it's not that time to go. It's not your time to go yet. He needs that oil lamp to keep functioning. So guess what? He's keeping up with the upkeep of it. Even if that oil lamp, you seen these people for cast iron pots, for example. Them cast iron pots been passed through generation to generation. You got some knives passed through generation to generation. Houses passed through generation to generation because their time ain't done yet. They're still getting used. If you're working good, you can keep going through the cycle. We're going to keep using you. He's going to keep making sure that you're being able to be used. Now, obviously, this isn't a forever thing. All good things must come to an end. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, he's going to call you to be with him. But at the same point, while you're fit for this, he's going to keep you going until it's your time to say, hey, you've been a faithful oil lamp. But eventually, there's just some things I can't fix. I can't polish you anymore. That's going to put your sockets back in place. I can't do this to make it whatever go back. And I don't know how the oil lamp works. But for a house, for example, these beams ain't standing up the way they used to. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to tear you down and build you a new one, man. This one ain't cutting it no more. The wood's getting old. And we can't just replace every piece of wood individually. We got to tear it down to make a new thing. But it's okay because you did good. And that's where the tearing down of the body comes into play. Our body gets torn away and built into an old one. Boom, you can disassemble that oil lamp, put it together as a new one. And guess what? That new one ain't never going to break. There's no more decay. There's no more destruction. There's no perishing in that new one. You just that forever oil lamp. Even if he don't use you, he won't use you because you won't be down here anymore. He won't use you. You get put on that shelf. Now, I can't speak to what happens after that because I haven't been up there. But in terms of, for this example, you getting put on the shelf. With the other oil lamps, I guess you out of commission down here, but you got another purpose. I don't know what that purpose is. That oil lamp on the shelf, it has its purpose. I don't know if it's going to a showroom. I don't know what it's doing, but it's still going to be working. That's what we're told. And then the last thing he was talking about, right? So he's talking to everything, you know what I'm saying? Glory be unto God, every saint Jesus Christ, they greet you. And here's where it gets crazy. I glossed over this. He said specifically, don't gloss over this. This is a big point. Verse 22. The most underrated point, I think, low-key in this whole thing. I didn't even think about nothing of it. He says, all the saints salute you. Chiefly, so the most highly, that people are greeting you are the people in Caesar's household. And you may think of Caesar, you be like, we know Julius Caesar, Mr. I got stabbed by my 12 best friends. No, he's not talking about that one. At this time, it was Nero. Nero was Caesar. And you may have heard of Nero. He was that guy that was like dancing and singing as the city was burning down. We had to read some rat story about him. I think it was like an adaptation about he was a rat or something in one of my English classes back in middle school, I believe. But nevertheless, this dude, he said, in his words, he said he made Hitler look like a Boy Scout. He used to take Christians, put them up on poles, light their bodies on fire just so he could have lights around his garden. Is what he used to do, apparently. So he was saying the saints in his household salute you the most, which he said, Pastor Paul of CC Ontario, Calvary Chapel, Ontario, he said, that's whose sermons I watch. If you're not aware, I'm sorry. I should probably bring that up in every review video. I can link it down below as well. He said that is a testament to the power of God's word being able to spread throughout anywhere. He said this guy that lit Christians on fire just to create light for his gardens. Lit human beings on fire. Not to instill fear or anything, not to, yes, to persecute them, but not solely for that. He said these guys, they'd make a good torch, degrading them to less than human status. He put them on poles, lit them on fire so he could have lights around his garden. There was people in his house that were greeting these Philippians the most as a testament to where God's power can do anything and can work in anybody. These were those people. And that's crazy. I can't even think about that. And the grace of the Lord Jesus be with you all. And that's the power of that grace that he's talking about. This is the grace that should be with you all. Not should be with you all. He's saying, this is what I'm praying. Goes with you all. The grace that has to make somebody who lights people on fire. You're in that guy's inner circle and you came to Jesus after hanging out with bro for who knows how long. That grace be with you guys. I'm praying. Amen. All right. That's going to be the end of the chapter. I hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.